Your event is starting.
Oh no, Demon Dad's coming in.
Oh, perfect timing.
We literally just are about to start streaming here.
Hi. Hi, Demon Dad.
On the cover of Clockwork Painted, clock is set in military time, 2112.
Oh, that's a cool fact, Demon Dad. Yeah,
That,
for that.
I am educated now.
It's an obscure, cool Rush fact is what it was.
Oh, that's a big fact. Okay, so it looks like the stream is working fine. Does everybody hear us fine?
Can you hear us, people?
It is a big fat demon dad.
A big fat Demon Dad.
And I mean that in the best way possible. Not that he's actually fat. Like,
Yeah, no, Demon Dad is pretty thin.
yeah, he's a lean man.
A lean man. A lean, mean, demoning machine.
That is what he is. Third, true. Hey guys, so we haven't done a guest stream in like, I'm gonna be conservative and say like forever.
Yeah, very conservative estimate.
So yeah, we have, unfortunately I couldn't get a hold of 10-year-old Barnacle. He's been dead for about, I don't know, 8 years, something like that. So, but we did get the 18-year-old Barnacle, so that one's pretty good. And yeah, we're just gonna hang out because we haven't done one of these in like forever, like I said. And everybody's been asking me to do them, and I just didn't really feel like doing them because I felt like it kind of distracted from the chat. But just one guest isn't really that bad, and Gibble's also a live stream king, so...
I'm a master.
He is a master. Unfortunately, we found out today that Google Hangouts has been discontinued, so we can't even do...
It's deet.
Yeah, like, so those easy live streams we used to do that, like, you know, was really popular back in, like, when I first joined DinoTube, those are gone now. We have to actually, like, do an encoder and then, like, stream Discord, which is what we're doing right now, so that might be why it looks weird, so, sorry. Lane enough to hide.
Mixel says, what the heck is up with the camera?
What's
I
wrong?
don't know what he means, though.
The stream looks fine to me.
I thought 10-year-old Brontosaurus was permanent. Yeah, we all did.
Yeah, unfortunately, he does die after 1 year. You can only live for 1 year. It's a very short life expectancy.
It's a strange species. It doesn't reproduce yet, it keeps reappearing.
It does reappear, but it evolves every year. It changes. The live stream's working fine for me. Is anybody else having problems? How does it look for you? I just clicked the live button. It seems to be working fine for me. Is it fine for you?
Yes, Murphy Mixels has noticed my mug. Yes.
Okay, he said something's wrong with the camera, but then he can see what's... Okay, I don't know what's going on. Alright, I heard something about Hangouts being executed. Yes, apparently it did. I didn't know about it until just now because we tried to do this. I was like, hey, Gibson, you want to do like a really super easy, just like throw a stream together? It became a whole operation. So...
A complex genetic experiment. We had to augment ourselves and build ourselves into the computer.
My freaking headset. I'm sorry. If it ever starts echoing, please let me know because my headset is going bad, so I need to get a new one. And my audio input cord occasionally like gets loose, and then it starts spurting all the audio from my computer out of the monitor. So I need to replace the headset, which I am gonna do. Like, probably tonight, because it's really annoying.
Gibson, do you think that Safari Ltd would have turned out a tad better this year if they had let Forrest Rogers do some of the things as opposed to Doug Watson?
That's funny you say that, because we were actually kind of talking about that the other day.
Yeah, I mean, Forrest seems to have a little bit more of a knack for theropods, especially lightly built theropods, just based off Giganotosaurus and its proportions. I would have loved to see a Carno by Rogers as opposed to Watson. Not that Watson's is necessarily terrible, it's just, you know, got its fair share of issues.
Yeah, and also, I feel like, it's just a lot of, like, just from a reasonable standpoint, or, I guess, a workload standpoint, I think it's a lot of work to put on one sculptor, and I really liked the diversity we had going there. I'm kind of sad that we don't have Forrest Rogers back, and like Gibson said, I really agree. I think that she is so good at her theropods. Like, she's the theropod queen, but, Doug he struggles a little bit more. Not that I say that he doesn't do good theropods. I mean, look at his 2017 Featherex. Everybody likes that, even though it has problems. Everybody has some room in their heart for that figure. And so I just think that his talent more lies with ceratopsians and like sauropods and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I like a lot of his mammals too. Both their mammals are great.
Oh yeah, my favorite mammal is still the hyaenodon. I like its fur detail a lot. That's just my personal preference, but...
Oh my god, there's no subject matter, says Hadrosaur.
Oh, that...
Yes.
I'm so glad that
Oh
you...
my god, there's no subject matter.
The Spinosaurus is gonna die.
I'm gonna call it the Spinosaurus.
Safari needs more sculptors. Yeah, but I mean, like, they can't just, like, add a bunch of random sculptors. They have to be, like,
Yeah.
you know, good.
Smurfy Mixels asks, the answer is yes, this is the collected Dimorphodon on my shelf. Boop. Boop.
Oh,
Boop.
I can just do this so I can see what we're looking at, or what the stream is looking like, and then they can do... Yeah, there we go. Cool. I was kind of not seeing your thing there because I was trying to do things backwards. That's the best way to describe it. Damn it, why aren't the 2020 figures revealed yet? I guarantee you it's going to happen in October. I guarantee it, because like they have to have at least like they usually reveal these things a good month or two before they start selling them, like the flagship figures, like the ones that are going to lead the charge for the year, like, you know, in 2018 it was like the Mastodon, the Daedon, those couple guys at the front, and I think it was the Amargasaurus and the Anzu.
And the Anzu as well.
Yeah, and so those guys were like leading the charge, and they usually always have that first wave ready for the Christmas sales because those are a huge market for them. So they always want to have figures ready. So I can pretty much promise you that we're gonna get reveals for most, if not all of them, by the end of October.
Yeah.
I just don't think that they would push it that far, because then if they push it into November, they only have 1 month, and then like when are the figures going to come out? Right before Christmas?
Yeah.
Most people are not going to buy them then. You have to have them available like in November when people start buying things ahead of time. Because I mean, sure, some people probably buy their Christmas presents like days before Christmas, but I think most people do at least by the beginning of December or.
Only bad people buy last-minute gifts. Only suckers. Only false chads.
Yeah, only false chads. Only false chads wait last minute, because the figures are revealed in October. Ka. And they also have been annually, or pretty much annually revealed in October.
It's usually been October.
I think the only one that breaks the rule is when the Dinotubers last year, like Gibson here, were actually given figures in July to reveal. Which clearly hasn't happened this year, if you haven't noticed. Which is a little sad for people that are newer to the hashtag iStory campaign, like myself and Eric, but oh well. Who knows? Godzilla King of Kaiju first. Wait, what? That was a Rajasaurus. I think a Rajasaurus would be kind of cool. I don't know, I'd kind of want a Majungasaurus first, but... I mean, assume, you know, since we already know that Doug could rock a Majungasaurus, since he already made one with just Carnotaurus horns, so that's kind of nice.
Except Majungasaurus needs the heckin' stubby legs.
Yeah. But I mean, well, I guess that one does have kind of longer legs than Majungasaurus does, huh? That figure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You don't have that one yet, right?
No. I don't have many of the 2019 figures. We're still kind of waiting over
Oh,
here.
yeah, you just completed the 2018 collection. That's what I'm thinking of. You just have kind of like some of the early ones. Hey, Kiki, did you see my model I'm making in DN? I have not seen a model you're making yet. I've seen some of your art.
Is it a model of my face?
If it's not, then you're just wasting your time, dude.
Obviously.
Wait, does Mesozoic Isle Episode 3 come out this month? Probably... Oh, it's only 5 days left. Yeah, probably not. But maybe early next month. I'm kind of shooting for that, so...
My Episode 8 of DI Season 5 is still scheduled for the last day of September, maybe. I don't know. It might not be possible. It's probably not possible.
Either way, you're going to get some cool stuff soon, so... Yeah. I mean, wasn't it like when Episode 2... Yeah, Episode 2 and Episode 7 came out similarly, or like within like a week of each other or something like that? Wasn't it?
You have turned into a robot.
Oh, okay. Everything caught up now.
Let me check. I think mine screwed up. Oh, my internet is like really struggling.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. We're back. I'm back.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I'm alive.
I don't even remember what I just said. What were we talking
Fair
about?
enough. Something. It was like episodes coming out.
Oh, did episode 2 and episode 7 like come out around like the same time? It was like within a week of each other or something like that.
I think so. Yeah.
Or maybe it was a little bit
close.
further. It was a little close. So I think it's gonna happen again. I think episode 8 is gonna come out and before episode 3, and then probably around a week around that will be episode 3. So, wait. Oh no, I already read that. Bro, I really want Safari to make a primitive Tyrannosaur for 2020. You mean like a redo of their Tyrannus? That would be awesome. And totally not gonna happen.
Maybe we could get a new Guan Long that's like enormous just for David for his band.
I don't think that one's gonna happen either, because wasn't that one like 2012?
Yeah, I think it was 2010 or 9 or something, but it's still probably a little too recent to remake.
Yeah, as soon as I said 12, I thought like maybe it was 2010. I don't know. I doubt that they're gonna do that soon. Even though like 2012 and a couple of the older figures like around that were like they're kind of outdated and not really with Safari's newer style. But I don't think that they're gonna redo those very soon, because just why would they when they still are selling them on the store?
It'd be just kind of, it's a little too soon to be a little too repetitive to pump out something like a new Guan Long. I don't know.
I think everybody wants to have more and more species represented, so going back and redoing species as much as we want them, like the Spinosaurus, you know, we have to kind of make way for other figures to be made.
And I think too, like Safari already has more of a pattern of like redoing the same genera and sticking to more famous animals, and so I'd be more excited to see them just expand and branch out.
Yeah, I kind of want to see them like kind of chop out these last few of the really big name characters dinosaurs, and then start mixing in more and more of the newer stuff as we go along. Because I mean, Pachycephalosaurus is one that we can do still. There's Baryonyx, that's one that hasn't been done yet. Dinosuchus, Albertosaurus. What are some other big ones? I mean, well, no, they're probably not going to redo a Brachiosaurus. It's probably too soon as well. Even though I think that that would be really cool.
It would be cool.
Yeah, because they don't have a Brachiosaurus that's still for sale that is in, like, well, the Diplodocus, the Diplodocus is at least better in scale, but it's not really in scale. Come out early in advance, but it was official.
King A is asking if F9 will be out by Halloween, and I don't want to answer him because it's a scary question.
It's a spooky question. Spooky, scary
questions.
Subscriber questions. There you go.
Yep.
Because that'll be the anniversary of the first episode. Yeah, probably. I think we're all kind of looking at the fact that it's probably going to be an over a year long season. But hey, at least it's a great season, so you can't complain about that.
It's only 9 episodes, but every episode feels like a fucking movie. Oh, I swore no! No! I already broke all the rules!
We're just gonna gloss over that and pretend like it didn't happen.
I have to remove my comment, but I can't, because it was in the air.
Oh, Gibson, go back and remove your comment. Remove it now. Safari does anime. Safari will be loved forever. Same. At some point, we need a better acro. That's probably the one that I want redone the most. Hey!
I actually kind of agree.
T-Rex was redone, but then I realized that I was about to say T-Rex, and then I was like, oh yeah, that's like the one animal that's excused from everything. So, you know, you never can run it. And plus, I guess it kind of makes even more sense because not only is it T-Rex and they redid it from the 2010 one, but it's also like a drastically different T-Rex. So it made a little bit more sense to do something like that.
I see someone asking for a Tylosaurus. Are you not a fan of the Tiger Tylo? Like, it's a pretty darn good figure, if I'm being honest. We do not need another one of those.
I agree. And maybe it could be a little bigger. I definitely wish it could be bigger because like the Kronosaurus is really nice, but
it's funny that like Tylosaurus is actually a really large marine thing that you could make a huge like 140 scale figure of, and it'd be awesome. But then like Kronosaurus wasn't actually that big. It's like way oversized. It's like maybe you could.
I was about to say, is it that oversized? Because I think Kronosaurus is like around 30 to 40 feet, right?
I think closer to 30. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, either way, that's not really that much shorter. Actually, when you think about it, just like width-wise, and then how long and lengthy Tylosaurus is, I don't think they're that big of a size difference between them. Even though that it's got like 10 feet on the Pliosaurus, because, or not Pliosaurus, Kronosaur. It's a Pliosaur, but it's not Pliosaurus. Gibson has been banished from.
Everyone's saying I'm a disgrace and I'm banished. No swearing on my Christian Minecraft server.
What the heck? Oh, that's just how about a redo of the 2016 Carcharodontosaurus? Yet again, a little too soon, but I wouldn't mind it. I think that they could do better, but I'm one of the people that really likes that figure. I think it's nice, and I think even though that Doug did. It's so weird now because he did such a overly skinny and lightweight version of that one, which he is just, it's so alien to what he's doing now. And even at the beginning, he was making really chubby and stuff. Yeah.
I don't think it's thin. That thing looks just stubby to me.
You think it looks stubby?
I mean, it has elongated arms, but the arms are just
well,
too big.
I guess I agree with stubby, but it feels too lightly built to me.
I guess. It feels like a smaller animal, but I don't think that's a result of it being too lightly built. I think it is a result of it being so like stubby and infantile in its proportions. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I was just about to correct myself.
Wild Republic figure or something.
I was just about to correct myself. I don't think it's lightly built. I think that the proportions actually aren't super terrible in terms of like how, because Carcharodontosaurus, despite what a lot of people like to make you believe, despite like being fairly similar in size to a Giganotosaurus, was extremely different in like bulkiness. Like it was a very much more lightly built, like kind of Allosauroid type body style than it was like a Giganotosaurus, which is kind of more Tyrannosaurid, where it's like a big barrel and he's gonna go wreck your house. But the thing that I think is wrong with the 2016 one is that it just doesn't feel like it's carrying its weight. Like the way it's carrying itself doesn't feel like it's a big animal, if that makes sense. I think it's more in the legs.
It doesn't have much weight to it, and it may just be a result of how small it actually is, because it's like probably like 1/65 scale or something.
Let me just fix that again. Yeah, and I mean the sloped back doesn't really help either.
This guy wants to know who would win between a Torvosaurus and a Megaraptor. I think we have to know what Megaraptor is before we can determine that.
That's a fair point.
But also, I think regardless of what it is, it's not nearly as large as Torvosaurus. But
yeah, I mean, like I'm also somebody like we can't have one live stream without somebody being like, what about this animal versus this animal? But yet again, I don't think that fights between different prehistoric animals are very fair, because animals aren't designed for that. They're designed to survive in ecosystems and fit in a niche. They're not all just designed to be in fight clubs. But also, I don't necessarily think that size is always the biggest factor, but in a lot of cases it is, because size has the ability of negating the effectiveness of your weapons if you're at a certain size disadvantage, because it just you're not able to combat the thickness of an animal like that. And I think that it's kind of similar to that with the Megaraptor and a Torvosaurus, but I don't know. I want a Safari Torvosaurus. I do too. What is the subject right now? I don't know. We're just kind of following whatever the chat's going.
Giganotosaurus, this Allosauroid got ripped in 2 weeks. Doctors hate him. Click here to see how he did it. Oh my gosh.
Doctors hate him. Oh my gosh. Stub. Did I redo of the Enostrensevia? I'd really like that. I'd really like that. They didn't really do the best on that one. I'd really like to see it.
Oh, sorry. I looked at it relatively recently. I was kind of shocked at how poor it looked. just like it has these huge hands and a lot of kind of muddled sculpting and the kind of a goofy face. And I always remembered it being better. And I mean, I guess it is 9 years old now or whatever, but I was just like, wow, that probably could use an update. I don't know if personally I'd want another Australian sea view, but some sort of Gorgonop.
That's what I was about to say. Even like just a Gorgonops or something like that. They're not really that incredibly different. You could use it as an Australian sea view if you wanted. Did the view count drop after Gibson swore?
Apparently it did. Supposedly.
Well, I don't know exactly how true that is because he swears in his own live streams and they do pretty well. But then again, he does have his whole channel where he's a little bit more open to that kind of thing, so...
My channel is like, we're child-friendly until we're not for a second.
Yeah. So, he chooses his
Or for 2 minutes as Doyle is slowly ripped apart.
Yeah, I guess that's one funny thing I thought about the other day was like, I always try to keep my channel child friendly so that as many people can watch it as possible. Not because I'm like somebody who doesn't cuss. Like, I don't know if some of you guys probably know, but anybody who's a personal friend knows that I'm a real potty mouth off screen. But
it's like he drives a semi or something.
Yeah, and so I just like having a professional atmosphere on the YouTube channel. But where was I going with this? I did realize that I have like basically a toy equivalent of a rated R series going on my channel, like with the amount of blood and stuff like that going on in it. I mean, it's jam, so I don't think anybody really cares, but
it is funny that, like, regardless of the medium, all our series are like portraying such brutal, natural sort of processes and behaviors.
We're not even doing like Walking with Dinosaurs. We're doing like Jurassic Fight Club gore. Like it's
we
just
are
going
a
all
lot
out.
of the time. If you actually put our gore into a normal dinosaur documentary, I think there would be some serious like
issues,
realization of like, wow, this is a brutal documentary compared to the usual stuff.
It has to be the fact that it's just like toys and we're using food.
Yeah, but I mean, just inherently the medium makes it much more child friendly, but it is also like these are some mature ass themes.
Another cuss word.
Oh. See, when that's not even counted as a cuss on my channel.
I don't even really care that much. It's a mild one, but I allow badass.
But that's not even a compound. That's one word, so it's different.
Yeah,
it's its own word.
Let's not get talking about a bunch of cuss words now. Let's talk about other stuff. Actually, I have a question for you. When do you think it was when you like first kind of like turned the whole genre into a gory mess? Because I know that like it was just like one isolated thing where you once like used a bunch of like, what was it, like food coloring or something like that you used like just a bunch of blood, and then you just started doing it a whole bunch after that because you liked it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a multi-step process. In the very early episodes, I would take a red marker and scribble it on carcasses and stuff. You could see a little bit on like some animals' teeth, and I think I used some food coloring. There's some very minor uses of blood that they're barely noticeable. They're so poorly done. And then at some point around episode 6, 7, 8, something like
of season 1.
I think 8 of season 1. I got out the red paint and water and like a turkey baster, and I was able to just like squirt it like a madman. And then things really turned around in episode 9, where there's this famous moment where Onyx and Serena kill a single fish, and there's just a cascade of blood that
Eric was just talking to me about that, because like the next episode starts with the whole lake all red still, because you clearly filmed it on the same day.
When you go to episode 10, the lake is just blood red. and then season 2, I kind of got more tasteful with it, because I realized more what I was doing. In season 3 even more so. I was like, okay, it's time to not make a whole lake red.
But at that point, it became a consistent quality of it.
Yeah, and actually, having said that, there is a brief period in season 2 where that season's lake is slightly like pinkish from blood, but it wasn't.
I do remember that a lot.
At the time, I was conscious of it, though. By then, I was like, I don't really like that, but I don't know how to fix it. I could have just put in new water. I don't know what was so hard about it.
I'm glad that you did that, though, because that was like some of the most okay, I want to choose my words carefully here, but just everybody just kind of take I don't want to have to think about in words very much. So just take my like thing kind of with a grain of salt, like the way I'll word it. But it was very tasteful, and I thought very artistic, the way that it kind of like made the Dinosuchus always feel really impactful, because what's his name? Jasper, not Douglas.
Yeah.
Douglas is my Dinosuchus. Jasper, he always like had that really cool like blood effects and stuff, and it always just made me feel like the lake was just a murder zone, and it reminded me of like African savanna stuff. And that's the whole reason I have a Dinosuchus and wanted one so bad inside of Mesozoic Isle, because that's one of the things that stuck with me the most over the first and couple seasons or whatever. But yeah, like take that at grain of salt. I'm not saying like he did like an amazing job with it, but like for the time, I thought it was a really creative idea. That's probably the word I should use. It was a really creative idea.
Yeah, I think that was mostly just a result of me overusing my favorite blood effect at the time, which was thing gets dragged underwater, blood comes up to the surface. That was my favorite effect. So I would just, because I think it was inspired by like in the Lost World when there's like blood in the waterfall, there's blood in the stream, in the compy scene. Like I was just like, oh, blood in water is cool. I must use this. So I used it.
Welcome to Kiki streams where wings are hot and the cussing is hotter.
Wow.
I can't wait for season 1 to be done of Mesozoic Isle, because I want to show off all of my original footage that I got from my first version of Mesozoic Isle, because you'll get to see me literally just doing a Jasper like blood like lake thing, and I always thought that was really cool, and that's literally the reason I did it, is because I just thought it was really cool and I wanted to kind of do an homage to that. You don't see that in season 1, like the new like the new good version of Mesozoic Isle, because it's an actual lake, and I just never thought to bring up a giant jug of blood and try to make the area look all red, and also you don't want to do that in a national park, and I didn't have any intent to do it. Also, it's just more realistic, but yeah, that there was a stage where I did do that, and I don't even remember exactly how it looked. It's been so long, so I'm really looking forward to going back and looking at all that stuff.
It's funny because I think season 4 and 5 of DI are probably closer to season 1 in terms of violence. Like I feel like the violence got kind of toned down in 2 and 3, and then when I came back, I was like, let's have very little restraint. Let's have Bloodtooth get eaten and have blood just spill out of her everywhere. So yeah, anyhow, that's where I'm at.
You actually think that? Well, I guess you did get more restrained with your like just over the top like kills and stuff like that, and you became more intelligent and tasteful about it. And I think maybe the reason it got so much lower over the course of the first 3 seasons is because you started so high in the first season that you were like, oh, let's tone it back a little bit.
So high and so over the top. And then I think coming back with season 4, I mean, season 4 and 5 at large do not have as much violence as the early seasons, or at least not as much blood. You know, there's like less frequent moments of just a little bit of blood here and there. But then you have stuff like just gratuitous shots of the Camarasaurus carcass as it sits out episode after episode and things like that. So it's like these more sparsely placed, but also much more extensive gore effects being used in this kind of.
There's the really extreme displays of it, but they're calculated and intelligent, and intentional.
I think about them more. I don't just throw them everywhere. Thankfully,
things aren't just throwing themselves off cliffs and stuff like that, and just like some random things being bitten, and you just see Gibson squirting a bunch of blood onto a rock.
Another like subtle bit of violence that I'll let you.
No, go ahead.
Put a pin in that. But another like subtle bit of violence or not necessarily violence, but I guess gore in the long term in season 5 specifically. And I had never done anything like this beyond maybe just a couple episodes in a row, but this has gone for almost the whole season. Our main character, Jane, has been covered in just like really gross wounds pretty much all season.
If it was like CGI or something, then I think people would be they'd be a lot more like taken back by it. But we've just gotten so used to the fact that you're just smearing jam on it that people just kind of erase that from their mind.
But like I work pretty hard on getting her like face makeup to look right with like dirt and jelly and other interesting, fun substances, and just getting it to look to a place where it's like, hey, that's
dirt mixing with the jelly is one of my new favorite effects. Like, it's just really cool. Like, it makes it look so much more dirty and like gritty, and I don't know.
Yeah, because like her wounds are usually supposed to be caused by like Rose dominating her. Usually her head is down in the dirt, or they're fighting around, or maybe she just was sleeping and turned over and woke up and she's got dirt on her face that's stuck in the drying blood, and like just kind of makes sense that it would just get grosser over time. So
I think that people still appreciate that stuff, but I also feel like sometimes, I mean, just in general, this is kind of like a general statement, and we're gonna kind of like slow down here and we'll look at the chat again.
Yeah.
But no, I mean I've been doing too, but just in general, most people don't understand the amount of work that goes into these things unless you've done it. And it made me have a whole new appreciation for Dinosaur Island. Even just something as simple as when Gibson did it in his front yard, he'd just walk out and do whatever the hell he wanted. Like, he didn't even have a story in mind or anything like that. It takes work. Like, these things, it takes a lot of time to put up these shots. But then when you have, like, something as advanced as our newer stuff, just as something as simple as blood, you sit there and you paint it. Like, you actually take time to put them in like, really intentional ways.
Much. And
these things are just glossed over by the audiences most of the time. And I'm not saying it's, like, something negative that you guys are doing, but it's sometimes, I notice that it's, like, it's a little unfortunate that not all of those little things are picked up on and taken, like, into appreciation. But, like, then again, so these are getting more and closer to movie quality productions, and that's what you do with movies. Like, these movies are like year-long productions with all these like thousands of people putting their stuff into it, so there's all these little things you can pick up on. And so I guess it's just kind of like the deeper and further you get into this stuff, it just kind of more of that just disappears, and people kind of don't notice it. But
and it's like probably the perfect example of like things that like take a lot of time and are really crucial but that you don't necessarily notice. I talk a lot of times with sound design, how like the perfect sound design is the sound design you don't even really think about when you're watching it. But another good example, getting back to like relating it to gore effects specifically, is we do have Jane with her wounds on her face, and those are pretty apparent, but you've also got like Razor's broken wing and Maggie's leg and neck bite. These little things, like there's the scene in the last episode with the Utah Raptor infighting. Like, I went to all the trouble to make up his whole wing again, and we barely see it. He's actually turned to the other side to the camera for most of the scene, but it's like, I gotta include that just in the background, barely visible, otherwise it's gonna just be a little more inauthentic than it can be. And so it's like, it probably took me, like, maybe 5 minutes to get the perfect kind of gore going on there, and then it's basically not shown. So there's a lot of that.
A lot of attention to detail,
things. The higher quality things there's a lot more of that attention to detail that's like, ends up being just for a very subtle, minor purpose, but that's kind of
that most people probably won't even pick up on. But
you won't pick up on it explicitly, but tacitly, it helps with the immersion, you know?
Yeah.
Or at least I hope
in case anybody ever, like, looks there, they're like, hey, his arm's still bloody, and then their mind doesn't think about it. And that's kind of the goal. Like, a lot of, actually, as a creator, your goal is really, sometimes, like, at least when you're working for immersion, is to keep your audience from thinking, and just to keep them invested in what's going on, feeling like they're a part of the ride, that they're there.
Like, I always talk about, like, the less you find yourself focusing, like, if you're watching a movie, if you're really focusing on, like, effects or little details or things, it's probably not a good movie, because those things ideally...
Unless you're rewatching it and purposely...
Unless you're rewatching it, but if you're watching something for the first time, the ideal, at least in my opinion, is that all that stuff is well done to the point where it actually gets out of the way and the story is what you're focusing on.
Sometimes productions are made to make you think, though, but they designate, the good filmmakers designate moments for that, and even when they do that, they guide your thoughts. They give you a direction to go in. They try to make you think in a certain way. It's not, even though it may feel like you're like, oh, I'm like free of thought, you're actually always being manipulated by the storyteller. And it's not a negative thing. That's actually like a really positive thing. That's the point of a story, is if you, there's no point in listening to a story if you're just going to make up everything on your own and do it yourself. There's no reason to listen to what someone else is going to tell you. So it's a good thing when the artist makes you think in a different way and does all this stuff. So we're really getting off topic now. So anyways, DI rated R for extreme violence. Also DI, aw crud, my darn hand. When did you say that?
Many times in season 1, I'm sure. There's a few quotes he could be referencing.
Oh, like you're just like, because you got your hand in the shot.
Yeah, I think I once said, my, like, crap, you can see my hand, darn it.
Oh yeah, and then you just like make it worse because you focus on it for so long.
Yeah, I focus on it for like 10 seconds and show it again just to make it thing. And be like, oh, it's my hand.
I need to go. Bye, Luke.
Gibson with a turkey baster. I have the power of God.
I try to do that in my videos, maybe not in the most successful way, but I try. Hey, it's always, like, you gotta start somewhere, man. You gotta start somewhere. Gibson has a Bob Ross mug. Oh, you do? I didn't even notice that. That is a good mug. That's a really good mug.
We don't have mistakes, we have happy accidents.
Yeah, happy accidents, that's great. One of my favorite quotes from him is just when he says happy trees. Like, just whenever he says happy trees, it makes me happy. Yep, you posted that before Prehistoric Dinosaur. I did see that. Speaking of gore effects, all dinosaurs in my series will have scars added on. I customized Safari 2018 Tribe to be missing a horn. I think you mean trike. Missing half of her tail, and I added a scar to her side. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome. I'm actually, that leads into some plans I have for season 6, which is there are a few specific characters who I want to scar up and age and customize so that they look just
individualized,
horrible, but on purpose,
characterized and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I mean that's. I think just in general, like our kind of shows and stuff like this are always. 1 second. I just know it's gonna do this. Okay, there we go.
Gibson, is that a heat-changing cup? It is. It's cool right now, but when you first put the hot tea in, the painting forms behind him and everything is very nice.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, our stuff is always changing and evolving, and you have to keep up with, like, the new ideas and stuff. And I know that Gibson just said that he's going to do this for Season 6. For Season 2 of Mesozoic Isle, there's going to be I want to say, just based on what I'm intending right now, like, who knows how it's going to actually end up, but just for right now, there's probably going to be less figures that you see that are actually stock than there are going to be repainted figures and figures that are customized, because I want to just continuously move into a direction where there's characters that are more obvious and individualized and recognizable for what they are, instead of, like, I'm not saying it's a negative thing, but, like, let's say, for instance, I have there's a Tyrannosaurus storyline that goes on inside of Mesozoic Isle Season 2. There's a lot of different characters that are going to play there, but if I were to throw in the 98 Carnegie Rex, it'd be kind of hard for me to make any kind of character without that being recognized as Bloodtooth, because Bloodtooth is just an iconic character that is associated with that figure. And so there's other characters that are associated with other figures, so it's really hard to break that kind of barrier that makes the character feel unique and original. I think it works out for some characters like Blue. I think that he's probably so recognizable because there hasn't been a really prominent Giganotosaurus of that Carnegie figure yet. I mean, that's shown up in DI, but then
it's shown up a lot. It's never been something that's particularly specific or memorable.
Yeah, and so I think that works out for him, but still, in general, I kind of want to move away from that, and I want to give like unique color schemes and stuff like that that are not going to just connect it to just the base figure and stuff like that. I think it'll make everything more unique and interesting, and a lot of things like scars and stuff like that will characterize and make characters feel more experienced or worn and aged and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot more potential there, and I think that probably everybody's going to start moving in that direction now. That's one of the ways that everything's evolving. Have either of you heard tabs on Path of Titans? Or kept tabs? Oh, kept tabs on. I haven't.
I don't even really, barely remember what it is. It's like a game, I know.
Yeah. I just got excited about it.
Was that one David did the video on?
Yeah. I just got excited about it because they're, for the first time, it's a indie dinosaur game that's actually going to deliver a game on release. Like, it's not Saurian or the Isle, where it's just going to be like a simulator that's going to be maybe finished 10 years down the road. But it's actually going to be a game on the first. So I'm like, hey, that's cool. I'm not going to put my money into it yet because it needs to prove itself to me. I've already learned my lesson with Mesozoica and all that other stuff. But I really like that there's going to be a Eutyrannus in the game. So if that comes out, the game's good, and Tyrannus is good, then I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm buying it. I'm gonna play as Tyrannus. So, but other than that, I don't keep up on it. I don't even know if David keeps up with it that much. I think he kind of casually does, but he'd probably be the best person to ask about that.
Football God Dino King says Jane is the next Bloodtooth. That, sir, is the most obscure intelligent observation anyone has ever made.
It's not like they're related or anything.
No.
I wish we could get more figures with scars and bite wounds on them. Well, you got the 2017 Featherrex. I think it's like our first taste of it. But
yeah,
I guess it probably... I think the reason why we don't get them too much is because, like, at least companies like Safari, they want to kind of give you more of a blank canvas that you can kind of do your own imagination with. They're not going to, like, steer it too much. But, like, with the T-Rex and that unique thing, it's like the T-Rex is already so crazy and out of the norm of what T-Rex figures were usually like, that they're like, let's just throw on some scars and just keep it looking different and fresh from the other T-Rex figures, so it feels like it's warranted. I think that's kind of why you do that. If you go to Collecta, though, you're going to find a lot more of that. I mean, even the Triceratops from Safari actually has some subtle scarring to it. The sculpt actually does have, like, some scars on the side of the face, but they're just very subtle because they want to kind of gloss over them, but they're there if you...
I like that PNSO, they're doing some explicit scarring, but even when they're not doing something as specific or noticeable as scarring, they give their figures that really gnarly feel with all these different sizes of scales and knobby, spiky things. I just love...
Or the blood on Estien's mouth.
Yeah, exactly, little details like that. And I just love how, like, gnarled and kind of aged all their figures look. They put a lot of good, like, detail and character into them. Whereas other companies just... When you look at PNSO stuff, especially their big statues, and you go back to other companies, everything else looks so clean and sterile by comparison. And it's just, yeah, it's pretty cool. And even like Papo and Rebor, which are in a similar neighborhood of sculpting style to PNSO, more or less.
They're so much more
done
clean.
A bit of that, but they're still much cleaner, yeah.
Yeah. I think just the only thing that Rebor and Papo do are kind of just like... They have much more finite and varied scales, and that kind of gives it a similar thing, but they don't really go to the extent that PNSO does. Or even Vitae. Vitae does a good job with that stuff.
Vitae does really good scales when they're not just sculpting their figures out of mud.
Yeah, like a couple of their smaller ones.
Or making them completely smooth.
Which, by the way, I don't know where the hell they went. They just dropped off the face of the planet after they did all those small ones.
Seems like it.
They have a really cool Suchomimus sculpt too that they were going to come out with, and I saw a relatively recent update on it, but it's really slow. My first thought when I saw Gibson being insane as a 10-year-old, what kind of drugs are you on and how much coffee did you have this morning?
I do appear highly caffeinated in that video.
I wish I could, I wish the 10-year-old Gibson wasn't dead so that we could have him as a guest on Kiki and Coffee. I think that would have been really a fantastic experience. You know what we could do? Sometime we could, like, take a bunch of that raw footage from those videos that you have of yourself as 10-year-old Barnacle, and, like ones that it sounds like you're having a conversation, we could edit in with me and, like, make it look like I'm having a conversation with a, like, time portal 10-year-old Gibson. That would be really fun.
Poor Hadrosaur says, I finally have peppermint tea. I and Barnacle have become one. Well, I've switched to black tea now. I'm sorry.
Bob Ross.
I've changed my tea too.
Hey, I actually have tea too. But it's manufactured, so it's not.
I brewed mine at home with herbs that I grew. Not really. It's just a tea bag. It's not, mine is basically yours, just with a little more work involved.
Mine isn't as bluntly obvious, or yours isn't as bluntly obvious as mine.
Yeah.
My favorite Co-Velociraptor appears to have subtle scarring and clean detail. Sometimes I think that kind of pops up, and I don't really remember much of, like, the most memorable favorite co-figures to me are, like, the Trike and the Styrak, and even before I had them, because I was like, hey, those ones actually look good and like something I would put on my shelf with the rest of them. But overall, I'm not really a huge fan of Favorite Co, if I'm being honest, but I know that there are some that I probably should give more credit to, like the couple T-Rexes that Gibson has gotten into it, and he's opened my eyes up to them, but In general, I kind of have to admit, I still kind of overlook them.
Sharon's figure, man, that old retired Series 1 Rex, it's just such a perfect pocket-sized Rex to me. It has, like, nearly no obvious accuracy issues. Its head is a little, like, bulbous and rounded. It could probably be slimmed down, and it's, like, slightly shrink-wrapped.
I was going to say that the head is definitely off. But
it's so surprisingly good.
Yeah, I was going to say that the head is definitely off, but other than that, it genuinely surprised me as well. Like, especially just how much, like, detail they packed into it. Even though it is fairly consistent detail, it's a
lot better than the Series 2 one, honestly. Titus is kind of a mess. He's got all that gnarled extra plastic in his teeth, and his head is a box.
Gibson mentioned that there will be this one very complex scene with tension. I think Ernest will have the pleasure of being in that particular scene. The pleasure or the horror? Yeah. I think it's probably going to be the latter.
I basically revealed that there was, like, one long scene that was based mostly in, like,
8 or 9
suspense. In 8.
Oh, we're going to get to see it soon.
8. And that is.
Hammer and Bloodtooth are like Loki. Yeah, they really are. They just die and then come back at will. Onyx does that too.
Yeah. Although that's been somewhat retconned.
Oh, it has?
Yeah, I mean, I re-edited the one episode with his actual death scene, so it's no longer in there. You have to go find the unlisted one, which you need a special link for, because it's not on any playlists.
Oh!
If you want to see the old death.
Are you going to give that link to Eric so that he can...
Eric has all the links. There's a few that have been subtly re-edited, and he has all the originals just for the sake
so you
of
actually did, like, full-on go through and, like, actually retcon things.
Yeah, I just fixed a few things. I was just doing some housekeeping one day, and I was like, let's just add this to the list of things to fix.
Fair enough. That seems like a pretty cool... Dude, where is Red Sail?
How dare you ask that question, you normie?
He's in Dinosaur Island Revival. Go over there, man. He's busy killing his whole family lineage. Oink. Red Sail is training to become the Abomination in DIR.
Pretty much.
I mean... No. I was gonna say, okay, so, I've said this to Gibson before, but, like, my little opinion on it is, like, it kind of sucks for people who really keep up with the DI canon and who know what Dinosaur Island Revival is. They know the fate of certain characters. In case any of you guys don't really watch DIR, I'm not going to say which character in Season 5 we know lives because of DIR, but there is at least one character that we definitely know won't die because he's in a different season. But, I kind of gave away the gender there, but,
nice job.
Yeah, but
you always complain about the spoilers, and then you accidentally just spill them out in another place. It's like, whoa, whoopsie.
Hey, that's not that big of a spoiler. It's already out there. They can do whatever they want.
It's not.
Either way.
I just figure for people who don't watch it, I like to just keep it quiet and let it just sit where it is. But
yeah. And hey, at least I'm making an effort to try to make it so that people don't get it.
Yeah.
Anyways, so it kind of sucks that, like, that is there because, you know, Gibson did come back after DIR was there, so there's like a bunch of there's a canon gap there that kind of leaves. It's kind of like the prequel paradox, where, like, it's hard to sometimes unless done correctly, it's hard to get invested in prequels when you're using characters that you already know the fate of, because there's not as much tension, there isn't as much at stake. There's not as much at stake because you know that certain things will come out in a certain way, and I think that's one of the flaws of that. But I actually like that Gibson is keeping a couple of those characters in there because it kind of creates that connection, and for people who don't know about Dinosaur Island Revival, they can still enjoy that story there. And I think it's like because it's an efficient way of using an ensemble cast, because not every character has to, you know, be ideal for everyone. I mean, if you're gonna complain about the fact that one character is like, oh, we already know how the story is, and like, well, are you not focusing on literally all the other characters in that season? Like, that's just the one character. It doesn't really matter. And there's other characters that play off of that character, so that could make it interesting.
And sometimes, you know, there's this sort of like paradox thing. There was like a study done about spoilers, where sometimes spoilers improved people's experience watching or reading something because they were actually very interested
and how
in
they
seeing
get there.
how it got to that point. And so I do think there's a certain amount too. Sometimes the stories of characters that end up in DIR that we know live because I'm stupid on a live stream several years ago. Sometimes those stories, especially with DIR characters, are less about creating the tension of are they gonna die is the only character, and sometimes they're like, how are they gonna get to that future point, and what interesting things are gonna happen to them along the way. You know, story can still be interesting even if you know the character is gonna live. There's plenty of genres where death is not a threat most of the time, you know. So.
Or it's not even it's not the major threat. It's
Yeah.
not the focus of it. It's like death is more expendable. One of my friends says I look like an AirPod. He's kind of right. I'm just going to gloss over that. How come you don't see any more corpse like Triceratops and Stegosaurus? What?
Like the Collect Day ones?
You'll get to see those in MI.
I only have the trike one, so I just don't want to use it too much.
Yeah, I mean, like, it would be kind of a little repetitive to use the same one over. I've got a question for old Gibbon, then why'd you tag me? What are your thoughts on my series, if you're caught up, or and whatnot? But, yeah, I'd like to know your thoughts. This is Prehistoric Dinosaur asking about the Isle of the Mesozoic.
I am not caught up. I saw a thumbnail with a beautiful shot of that Neo-Venator puppet, and I think I'm actually more episodes behind than just that one. I need to watch it, because I have seen the first, like, maybe half of whatever the current season is, this first season, I assume.
Oh, you've only gotten that far in? I thought you were further than that.
So.
You and I should watch it
super
together
far.
then, because I have to catch up too.
It's, I really enjoy it. It seems like a series that's, like, just steadily improving. Like, every episode is, like, noticeably higher quality and more interesting than the last one. And I like a lot of your locations and some of your general visuals. Like, there's some cool stuff with, like, some sort of drier grassland locations, which gives me Gloppy 605 flashbacks, which is just, like, an immediate way to make me like your series more. Since his whole series was, like, out in yellowed grass with cracked, dried mud and stuff, and it was just, like, he had the best backdrop. But anyhow, yeah, I love what you've done with the puppet, and I need to see more of it, because I think I've only seen, like, part of one episode with it. But yeah, I'd like to ideally just go back to episode 1 and start over now, because it's been, I think, too long since I've seen the episodes I have. I need to, like, refresh myself. But
I was going back and rewatching it too, and there's like a stark. I think it's around, like, is it like episode 4 or something like that, where there's like the episode ends and it's like the poorer quality, like lower end stuff, and then the next episode he makes a huge improvement. Like, it was like it went from here to here. And, like, I was like, yeah. Wow, like, okay, that was impressive. And also, Branca, Demon Dad made a cameo at the very beginning of the live stream. So, like, grab the little bar, slide it all the way to the beginning of the live stream, and then once you've seen it, press the live button again, you'll catch it.
Yes.
We could try to drag Demon Dad back in here, but he's an important man that has very important duties. And he can't afford to be...
He's like a, you know, you never ask a magician to do a trick twice. You never ask Demon Dad to come back after his first
It just doesn't work if you just ask him to do that. You know, it has to happen on his own clock. Marnicle lied to us. He said that there wouldn't be any more off-camera deaths. I don't think that's exactly what he said, unless you're quoting him from really long ago.
I never said that.
Because what I'm remembering the same thing that you're talking about, because I talked to him about this, like, when in a private call, but what I remember him saying was that he didn't like the idea of off-camera deaths. It was something more along the idea of that, but he's changed his opinion even on that.
Yeah, and well, it's not even that I've changed my opinion, it's just that I explained it poorly back then. I think if you had really asked me about it, I would have agreed with how I think now. I just was being more blankety back then with my statement about it.
Glossing over it.
Because I was thinking specifically about the shoehorned in sort of retcon deaths, where you come back in the sequel and, oh, they died. We couldn't get the actor back. They passed away. And that's specifically what I was thinking about. When I think about a character being killed off camera, I think about, like, no lead up to their death, where the only way you know they died is because it's explained to you. A character where we see them, like Spike, for instance, surrounded by a flaming forest and then it fades to black. technically the moment of death is off screen, but the death isn't really just off screen. You know exactly what's going to happen.
That's the way that he's portraying the death.
Yeah.
Without showing it. But you know what happens.
Maybe the fade to black is the death. I mean, that wasn't my original idea, but you could consider it that. Maybe that was the moment she actually went bleh.
Bleh.
Although it seems like the moment would have been less bleh and more crackle bacon fire.
Was the last shot before fading to black a POV shot?
It was not.
Okay,
so...
then I don't think that you could really get away with that well. But
yeah.
If it was a POV shot, then you could easily say that.
Yeah.
You guys want to ever use stop motion? No. One, it's a pain in the butt. But also, if you've ever tried to do any pictures or... when I was younger, I think I tried this a couple times.
You would need an indoor studio with proper lighting. You can't do it outside.
The lighting,
plain and simple.
There's just way too many factors outside that could change in the
move
time.
Outside.
That's the biggest one. When you're doing stop motion, you're taking pictures. You're taking a bunch of pictures and then subtly moving things so that when you put them together, they're frames. That's what a video is. When you record a video, it's actually just taking a bunch of pictures at once, recording the audio, and then it's just flashing the pictures at a certain rate, usually 24 frames or more per second, and then it just plays the audio underneath, and that's all it is. So when you do stop motion, you're just taking a bunch of pictures that you're controlling more individually, and then you're playing them in a rate that the human eye can detect motion, or at least have the illusion of motion. And that's really difficult outside because plants move in the wind, and so you'll take a picture, and then one picture, the plants are going like this, the other picture's like boom, and then when you play it like in motion speed, you're seeing the plants go like that, and it doesn't look right. And so
what's even more critical than plants, and this is something that I've heard from so many.
The sun moves.
This is something, and that's something that affects stop motion indoors, because good stop motion artists will tell you don't just have to be inside, you have to be away from all the windows and doors and skylights and any possible areas of sunlight.
Any subtle variations in
any
light.
Changes in shadow or reflection will destroy it all. You need super consistent lighting.
Basically, you need to go into a basement like an atomic bunker and just never see the light of day until you're done.
And obviously, people do stop motion outside. I've seen some okay stuff like in the Bionicle community, but if you're really going for like high quality stop motion, if you want to do stop motion properly, you need a proper studio, quote unquote, to do it.
It's virtually impossible to get it to look the same way you can get it in a controlled way outside. It's virtually impossible. Technically, it's possible. You could be, waiting there a whole year just for the plants to line up exactly the same way and the lighting and everything like that, but that's just like completely impractical. And like, how would you even have an eyeball to detect that? But obviously, that's not going to happen. Delectable tea or deadly poison? It's raining real good where I am. Well, see, if you were doing stop motion outside right now, then you'd be screwed. Because rain is also a big thing. But that's a good question, Zed and Amethyst Mendez. But not only is it like, I don't want to say easier, it is, but I don't really necessarily want to say
that's easier.
It is easier. I don't want to say that's the main reason, though. I mean, like... Yeah. I think there's also an art style to it, like the puppeting.
I think we've both established that doing just live video puppeting of things and not stop motion or animation of any type gives us more of our desired effect in terms of movement and how we want things to look.
Like any skill, you can learn to puppet well, but... I not only, like, it's not even just something I thought beforehand, like, I actually learned from my experience of filming Mesozoic Isle and stuff, is that puppeting is a talent. It takes skill, and it's obvious when somebody, and that's why I had to do most of the pupping, and I'd have my grandpa doing the camera work a lot of the time, because he just isn't, like, I think it's not only just that he's, like, not as talented with it, but it's like, he just doesn't have practice. He doesn't sit there. He didn't grow up as recently and just play with his dinosaurs constantly and imagine them like doing this.
It helps to play with your dinosaurs through your entire childhood. It
really does.
Preps you to become a puppeteer.
I'll admit, I still do, in the way that I will take figures off of my shelf and I will sit here and I will turn my head like it's a camera and I will plan shots and I will write down notes and I'll say that I like it this way. And I'm using my eyes as a camera reference, and so in that way I still play with my dinosaurs and stuff like that.
I don't necessarily necessarily do it for shots all the time because the majority of my shots are of figures I already know well and have worked with for a while. That's just how it works out most of the time. And some figures, I'm just like, whatever, it looks fine for most angles. We'll just go with it. What I really do it for is, like, every time I get a new figure, I try to take one nice picture of it and post it, like, outside, like, one good shot of it. And like, with the Carnotaurus yesterday, I got to collect a Carnotaurus from Alec Man, who's the nicest dude ever. He sent me stuff. And he sent me the Dimorphodon and the Carnotaurus. And the Carnotaurus, I was like, what angle am I going to photograph this from? I want to have it be a different angle from David's thumbnail photo. I want all this, like, cool stuff. And I'm like, okay, it looks good from here and here. Yeah.
Yes.
You guys gotta play the new KFC dating. That sounds like an amazing game.
Yeah. So yeah, I think there's a lot of talent that goes into puppeting, and I think that that's something that can kill a lot of smaller series that don't get as attention. Like, because like, here's one of the things: is like when you're a smaller channel and you're really, I've been there. I think we've all been there at some point. Even Gibson was there at one point. When he first started Dinosaur Island, he was a very small channel, and he did learn stuff from that. So when you're that small, people do end up straying across your videos. It's not like they're just gonna never be noticed. Sometimes you do just sit there with barely any views, but I think the key factor in getting to somewhere where, like, I am, because I think a lot of you guys have been around watching my channel when I only had like over 200 subscribers, and that seems really small to where I am now, and I'm really popular in the community now. I recognize I'm not trying to be like overly egotistical here, but I owe that to the fact that even when I was that small, I tried my damn hardest. I tried my hardest, and I made sure that whenever they'd accidentally stray across my video, that I would do the best I could to grab their attention and make them feel like they had to stay. And I feel like a lot of people, they give it half their effort, like I did for the first version of Mesozoic Isle, and they don't put their all in it, and not even that you're just bad at puppeting, it's just that you don't try hard enough. And then it doesn't show well, and it doesn't grab the viewer's attention. It's like when it really shows through the camera when you really try for something, and that's when you get your attention, is that when you go above and beyond, even when you're a small channel, you persevere. When those people come in, they're going to see your stuff, they're going to stay around, and that's how you start accumulating subscribers. And so there's a lot of little subtle talent there, and my grandpa did actually puppet some things inside of Mesozoic Isle when I wanted to do a certain thing with the camera and maybe the character didn't necessarily do anything too advanced, or like the scene where Blue actually tackles the Allosaurus down in episode 2. My grandpa puppeted Blue there because Blue, all he has to do is just shove in off the screen and just slam into the Allosaurus, and I just cut it really quick.
Fast movements don't have to look as good.
Yeah, and he doesn't do any walking puppeting. If you actually watch it, Blue just goes and just like beelines across the screen to go after him. And I mean,
but it works.
You don't see the legs, so it works. But either way, that's something. There's different ways you can work around that. But anyways, that's kind of my little, I guess, productive tangent about puppeting.
And I want to add to that. First of all, we always say puppeting, and the proper term is puppeteering.
Okay. I've been saying that wrong.
Oh, we've all been doing it. This entire community has been, like, exposed to a fake word that I probably started, if I'm being honest.
Probably.
But another thing I want to talk about...
We will make it a real word.
With puppeting, I mean, just when I think about, like, my thought process, even with Season 4, so often I'm like, okay, I need a dinosaur to go across the screen. So what am I going to do? I'm going to move it across the screen. I didn't think about it any more than that. It's like, if I need to go across the screen, then it's going to go across the screen. That's what it's going to do. And now I'm like, if it needs to go across the screen, I'm like, every step is like, does that look good? Does that, oh, it needs to, yeah, oh, that's fluid. Oh, it's going to sniff the air. Now he's going across. And there's a lot of subtle puppeting in Season 5. This is just one random detail, but like, one thing I've really been trying to get better at, specifically in Season 5, and I think it's a bit of a hallmark of it, just in terms of little subtle things, is interaction between different models. Like, one of my favorite moments just in the first episode is there's a moment where Jane and Titus are kind of, like, bickering with each other, and it's, like, much more dynamic and, like, alive feeling than anything in the previous seasons. And I've really tried to get some cool moments with figures kind of looking like they're actually like just getting the sight line right, so that they actually look like they're looking at each other.
That's actually a big factor. That's very subtle.
Yeah, there are scenes in older seasons, even in season 4, where like characters are supposed to be facing off. It's like they aren't. One is looking like their head is turned just subtly the wrong way, and little stuff like that. And then I was gonna say something else. Oh, what was I? Oh, well, we were talking about how fast movement is a little easier, and you don't have to be quite as like careful with it. And that brings me to the point that I think the hardest puppeting to do is like slow walking or even just standing still. When a character's just like standing, shifting its weight,
because you overthink
around,
it too much.
Yeah. And
It's
you're like, what
to
should they be doing? And I try to work in a lot of subtlety in those scenes. I don't want it to just be standing stock still. I want it to be subtly looking around. And as long as there's just a little bit of a sway and a life to it, it's fine. But that's also a good place to put in tiny little details, put in little character quirks if they move a certain way. Maybe this character always paws at the ground or something like that, you know. So little things like that.
That's interesting. I don't think I've actually ever done anything too much with that yet, like just like a little character thing, like what do they do when they're idle. I think that's kind of cool.
Ernest is one of the few characters that has a distinct idle sort of cycle of movement, I guess. He has repeating patterns of when he's standing there, and some of it just comes naturally from the figure. Like sometimes when I'm puppeting a figure, I just naturally do things with it because
it works best with that pose. Yeah.
And so like Ernest does a lot of like shifting back for, he does a lot of like slight rear ups and little paws and things. Like his feet are very busy, so he has random little cute things like that. I love Ernest.
I love that figure. That thing's such a great thing.
It is my favorite Ceratopsian from Safari, I think.
You must always keep on going. Keep on keeping on. I think you meant keep on going on. But yeah, I absolutely.
Now, keep on keeping on is a phrase.
Is my thing doing that again? Say something.
Hello?
No, it's not. Sometimes there's like a slight echo from your room or something that I hear in here, and then I freak out if my monitor's doing it again. I keep having to unplug it. In my show, I will try to build perspective for its season 0. All of the characters will be babies, and I want them to feel small and weak. This message is too long, so I will continue in a bit. Small and weak. Yeah, I actually think that baby characters are something that are kind of underused. They're usually more of an extension of the adult version of their character, and I really wanted to try something different with that with Redtooth. I think he's the I'm not going to say, I don't know if that's even true, but I'm not going to say that he's the only major effort to make a baby character like that big of a role, but he was at least one of the more serious efforts in that vein. And it's really interesting because, like, if you guys know that the original version of Redtooth, he actually was a juvenile type, like, he was more of like a Nano-Tyrannus type body style, where he was like probably just around 20 feet, and he actually had a scene where he fought with other characters. It doesn't happen anymore, so I'm just gonna say it. It's spoiled. I think in the original version of the scene where you see Redtooth walk up on the Ceratosauruses, he actually got into a small fight with Cecil, the alpha Ceratosaurus, and Cecil knocked him onto the ground, and he quickly submitted and ran off. But he actually fought Cecil in that scene. So that's a scene that still remained the same with Redtooth. I mean, that he was still there and like the similar character interaction, but I wanted to completely change him and try something different with it. And he's really just a spectator character at this point. Like, he's just a baby. And so I think that using baby characters is really cool, and it adds a lot of dynamic. There's a lot of baby characters in season 1 of Mesozoic. You'll probably start to notice as time goes on, and that's also because there is a lot of characters I'm trying to set up for the future as well, but also a lot of interesting things I'm doing with baby characters, and just as many I think die. But that's I think babies are really cool, and something that we don't dive into too often inside of these shows, at least making them as a prominent character. I mean, Jane was probably the first major one. Yeah, that was probably the first major one.
I literally made my protagonist a tiny baby with a base. It was a horrible decision.
I was thinking Little Tyrant, but I think Little Tyrant was more of an extension of Bloodtooth than he was more of his own.
He was not a major. He was not a major character. He also wasn't that small. He was like very much a juvenile. I wanted to say as long as you were bringing up Redtooth, I wanted to bring this back with baby characters and relating it back to sort of personality in puppeteering, and just as a little tease for the next episode and possibly future episodes, one character who I have had just a joy with in terms of adding a lot of distinct personality and quirks to their puppeting and making them really lifelike and unique is Heckin Safe. So yeah, I've tried to make him very adorable, and he hops. When he gets excited, he just hops in place a few times and then scurries in a circle.
Oh,
it's great. Anyhow, he has
like hopping in place. That's pretty adorable.
Yeah,
I was just about to say that because you actually just reminded me. I do actually have a whole personality of Redtooth, because Redtooth loves sniffing the air, looking around. He's always panning his head around. He's very curious, and he hops when he moves. He doesn't. He rarely runs in a straight line unless it's serious.
Yeah.
He'll run, but he's usually boing 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 and hopping around, and it kind of gives him a character. So that's kind of funny.
I was thinking too. Hops. Looking around reminds me too that another Ernest thing is the nervously looking to one side and then what's over here?
And he's like, whoa. Which did lead to that spooky
jump scare, yeah.
Giga shot there.
In episode 3, yeah.
You want to use more figures with bases?
That's just...
Well, I guess they're more stable.
Yeah, but I'm holding a figure most of the time. I don't need it to freestand that often.
And the only time that it's nice for a figure to stand on its own is when you're doing a wide shot with mini animals, but then it's even harder to get rid of the base.
Yeah.
So it's if you go do what you want to do.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna use the restroom. I was gonna say too with bases, Jane's base is the one I have to make disappear the most often, along with.
You do a good job, because I constantly forget that she has a base. You do a really good job at that, so.
That's good to hear, but it was really hard because normally she's in an area with dirt, and I could cover it with dirt, and it's perfect.
It also helps that I don't have her figure, so I just keep forgetting that she has a base.
Yeah, and then, but it was much harder with her scene in the last episode, Cascade, where she's out in the grass. And it was and I also had the Collecte Dinocurus out there and some other stuff, and I was just oh man, this is just really no fun. But anyhow, I made it work.
Season 1 will actually be the second season. So why are you doing it that way? I'm very curious. Why are you doing a season 0 and then season 1? That's very interesting. Kiki confirms, yes, I have validated Nanotyrannus with my one comment about its size. I'm trying my best to not copy anyone from my DIS type series, so I'm trying to make an original ideas. Oh yeah, dude. That's a big one. Always make something original that's going to attract people's attention. It always seems hard at first, but it's not. And even original things could be things that you're inspired by from other media. Let's just a random example, Godzilla. You could see Godzilla do something in a movie, and you're like, hey, that's cool, I want to make a dinosaur do that. And so, what's an example? I don't know, I can't think of a good example. I mean, nothing has multiple heads, so that doesn't work. But I was about to say something, spoiler for Godzilla King of the Monsters, too. You get my point. Take some idea that you see in something else, implement it into the community and in this medium, and it's still something new and original from that perspective. I don't know why Prehistoric Dinosaur keeps retracting his messages. I'm trying my best. I read that. I keep exploring the idea of killing off characters very quickly and abruptly. It adds a ton of shock value and keeps people on their toes. Acts as a reminder that nobody is ever truly safe. That's what I've been doing with MI. I don't do it overly too much, but I do it at key moments, and I think that's really the big thing is you do that to remind them. You wait to do something like that until you feel like there's a moment where oh, I think people are getting comfortable again. Bam! And you don't want to just kill off everybody, because then it just becomes you don't feel like there's any hope for anybody to get to the end. You want there to feel like hope, because it's quite the contrary. I think that some people, they try to make it so that oh, I want to make sure that people are scared for the characters, so they just kill too much, and then it feels like you're doomed, and that's a very different. That's an opposite end of the negative spectrum of that, because you have the problem of then people don't feel like you're ever going to have a good ending. You want them to feel like there's hope. You want them to feel like there's a good ending there that they're striving for, but you want to feel like it's challenging to get there. You want to make it feel like that there is a chance. There's just as much of a chance for it to end terribly as it to end well, and that's really the balance you want to strike there. So don't overly do it, but I definitely think it's a very valuable thing to do at tactile moments inside the story. Babies are trying to bankrupt you. Sometimes the parents are extensions of the baby. That is true. Sometimes it works the other way. The reason I said it, that mostly the babies are extensions of the parents, is, yeah, exactly, Owen. It's because it's more common that it's the other way around. And, like, actually an interesting one, and this isn't necessarily uncommon, but, like, Patty and Molly from Mesozoic Isle episode 2, that's more of, like, a balance. There's actually a little bit more of an even balance to both characters. They both kind of feel equally present, but they have distinct roles. I mean, Patty feels interesting. She doesn't necessarily offer as much value, I guess, besides being in something for Molly to take care of, but you're equally invested in both of them, I think. So it's not like you're just like, oh, we're just here for Patty, and then Molly's an extension, she's your bodyguard, or you're just here for Molly, and Patty's just a thing for Molly to defend. I feel like it's a little bit more even for them. I'm not saying that they're some of the best written characters. I think they're, they get the job done, but that's just an example of one way that can work. I
like the classic mother and child like pair. It just reminds me of like classic documentaries and Bloodtooth and what I was trying to do with her, which of course is based very closely off of Raptor Boy 101, where one of his main stories was a close pair of a mother whose mate died and her baby Tyrannosaurus Rex son, and I like those bonds being shown.
Oh yeah, that's something that carries through with Mesozoic Isle too, because it's inspired off of Dinosaur Island. It's being passed down. Apparently my mom says the dinner is done and I need to pee, so I'm just gonna mute myself real quick and then I'll be right back. So the stream is yours.
Awesome. Okay, peeps. There's more than one peep here. What is everyone's favorite kind of pie? My favorite pie, probably apple pie. I like pumpkin pie though too. And if you count pizza as pie, that's a new ball game. Bionicle, Grandpa, and neither of those are pies. Pumpkin, okay. Gibby can swear all he likes now. Ah, yes! Fudge, frick, shizzle, and tickle. That's not a swear because it's not even a word. I haven't ate pie before. How have you not consumed pie? I love cherry pie. He retracted that. Gibbo is saving the Blizzard reveal for season 6. You can keep wishing and hoping against hope, that's for sure. Pumpkin Dream Pie is epicness. Gibson's Judgment Carnegie Bragg Source is also my favorite. Oh, dude, that's awesome. Yeah, there's a few candidates for favorite Carnegie figure. The Ichthyosaurus is another one. I like the Cryo and the Concavinator. And I like the Carnotaurus, the 2011 one as well. I like the Miragaia a lot. The Corythosaurus is cool, but I think the Brack ultimately wins. Onyxosaurus, I really like what you did with Rose. Honestly, the way you film that figure makes her look massive and very intimidating. Thank you. I try my best to make scenes with Rose very much favor her. She takes up more of the screen. She's taller, and I mean, inherently, she's a much bigger figure than the hunting T-Rex from Collectus. So part of it is just working with what I have. But yeah, I'm glad that that's effective. Thank you for that. Blueberry. Now, blueberry pie. That's a unique choice. That's pretty awesome. Second close being my former favorite pecan. Oh, I forgot about pecan pie. Okay, yeah, pecan pie might actually be my number one. I've only had it a couple times, but it's really quite a thing. Heckin' popcorn. Look at that. That's not a pie. That's a corn pop. Has Gibby seen the trailer for Dinosaur Watership 2? If not, could you... I haven't even heard of Dinosaur Watership 1. What the heck is Dinosaur Watership? That's a weird thing, but okay. I do like water, and I like ships. Uh-oh. TPD has a Discord attachment for me. Okay, we're going to open this up. And look at what he sent. Oh. Oh, it just downloaded it rather than opening it in a new tab. Okay. Open. Ooh. Ooh. That looks good. Heckin' lit. IOTM head puppet shot. Yes. That looks really good, man. Thank you for sharing. Welcome back.
Hoy. What'd I miss?
Let's see. TPD complimented the way I shoot Rose. He said Rose feels like very intimidating, and I said thank you, since I try to make her really tall and Jane feel a little smaller and all that. And then I asked everyone what their favorite kind of pie was, and I got some good answers, so.
Pumpkin pie.
Oh, yeah, now that's a good choice.
Pumpkin pie is the best. Although,
I like...
recently, apple pie has become one of my favorites, too.
Apple is good. Apple is classic. Very American. I like the way you filmed Jane with the camera being on her level for the most part, which makes her feel more relatable. Thank you, yeah. Again, it's kind of just a result of how big the figure is, but it works out. So how is episode 8's progress? One more little thing to film, and a couple little things to edit the visuals for, and then we're just down to sound design. But of course, that takes the longest, so...
Yeah. It feels close but far.
It really does.
Yep. That's just my house, man. I'm sorry. I have 4 siblings, and they're all hell in different ways. So, you know, and then the 2 dogs, you know, they're just kind of an extension of it. A lot of them, and then their noise making is usually them complaining about what my siblings are doing and trying to get it to stop. So it's really not that the dogs are that individually bad. They're trying to say, "Hey, shut up!" or "Hey, stop it."
I can relate.
Mm-hmm. The thing I like to do with dinosaurs is that I intentionally try to shoot most, if not all of them, on a level playing field, and unless there's a size difference or there's a power shift, and that makes those particular moments, Dutch angles, low angles, just all kinds of stuff like that. It makes them all stand out and feel more impactful. If you do one thing for too consistently across the whole board, then it loses its impact. But then there's also times when, like, if you're consistently shooting a character like Rose, and that it can work if you're doing it consistently and always shooting her like that, because the rest of it isn't shot in the exact same way, and so it makes her have a very particular presence that makes her feel distinct from the other ones. But if I think that the show, like any show, like, could easily fall into a category of feeling more stale and less emotional or impactful if you consistently shot him, even from a cool angle, from, like, looking underneath at a big dinosaur. I'm sorry if the dog's barking, but I really can't do anything about it.
If you shoot everything the same way, even if you're shooting it really well, it can just start to lose character. And shooting characters in distinct ways on purpose is honestly a really good thing to do.
And just also shooting characters in a what could be viewed as a bland or simple way could actually be a very intelligent decision, because that can contrast certain things like that.
Yeah. Like that guy was saying, he was complimenting how Jane is shot pretty much just like on eye level. Which is like one of the least interesting things to shoot.
But eye level makes you feel much more sympathetic and emotional and connected to a character.
Whereas we are always looking up at Rose. And I have a lot of shots looking like we're underneath her, basically. Like, just, that's a big
That's what I do with Blue.
Yep.
Blue, rarely do we look down at Blue, and usually when we do look down, it's like looking over his shoulder down at something, so it still gives you the impression of something bigger, because you're like, oh, crap, like it's looking down upon something else, and the focus is on the character who he's viewing on, or something like that. I think I did that with Sugar Plum. When he met Sugar Plum, I think the camera was behind him looking down.
Terrano asks, do you have any episode 9 scenes filmed? I want to determine which scene will be in the next 2 episodes based on the teasers that we have. Yes, there are 2 episode 9 scenes filmed. One of them I know for a fact I haven't shown any footage of in the trailers, but one of them I did show a single shot from.
Oh, so we really haven't gotten much of a tease of episode 9.
Yeah, no.
That's pretty cool.
Episode 9 I've been keeping on the down low just because, like, not much happens, but what does happen is, like, completely off the wall. So, anyhow.
Yeah, I think you did tell me something like, there's not a high scene count in episode 9, it's just long.
It's basically... It's basically going to be... Half of it is just going to be 2 monstrous action scenes, and the other half of it is going to be a chunky epilogue. And I am going to add some other stuff in. I'm going to flesh it out more. My current script for it is really bare bones, and it hasn't been changed hardly at all since I first scripted it, so I am going to add some stuff late just to give it a little more meat, and there's just some stuff I want to do. But for the most part, just crazy action and then epilogue. It's very simple, but it's everything it needs to be, I think.
Initially, on the production process, I thought I viewed it as a very negative thing to be changing the script as you're going along, but in reality, things change, and sometimes you just find something that you like better.
And even though I'm getting to changing it really late, the changes I'm making are changes I've had in mind for a long time now. Because, like, I kind of scripted the whole thing, and it sort of just sat there, and by the time I was ready to release episode 1, I realized that episode 1 is, like, probably the only episode that's, like, 100% the script, and that's it. Everything else, I've been like, oh, I think I might want to do this and this, and I sort of ran through the script that day, like, of putting up the first episode, or finishing the first episode of season 5, and that's when I combined the original episodes 5 and 6 into one episode, so it became 9 instead of 10 overall. And that was sort of the day I figured out, okay, these are kind of the things I want to adjust. And then since then, I've just been slowly adjusting things as I go. So, yeah.
And kind of connecting back and looping around to what we were talking about earlier about, what was it? We were saying, that, like, playing or fiddling with your figures and using your eyes as angle, as a way to pick out angles ahead of time. Something, I did, there's 2 scenes, that I know for sure. There's maybe another one, but I know one shot that I was extremely proud of that I knew that I wanted to do, because it's the first shot we see of a dinosaur in Mesozoic Isle in the actual show is Red Tooth when he walks over the hill. From the very start, from the very first time that I started at least rewriting, I actually have to check to see if that's in the script for the very first version of Mesozoic Isle, but at least for the most recent rendition of it, when I first started writing episode 1 again, that was in there from the very beginning. I knew I wanted to have a long shot hinting and teasing you that there's some big carnivorous animal waiting, like, coming over the hill, and then this little head pokes up and he just starts waddling up the thing. And so that's been one of the things that kind of that I planned ahead of time through doing that tactic. But there's 2 entire sequences. One of the last scenes in the entire season, that's the one actually reshot, because I was not happy. That's why I had to reshoot it so many times. I reshot it like 4 times. One time I almost shot the whole thing, and then I gave up when it was almost ended, because I'm like, you know what, no, I don't like it. And I just threw everything down. I was actually really angry because I was getting very frustrated with it. But recently I went that whole other trip just to go reshoot it, and I went up there with my grandpa and I shot it, and I'm so satisfied with it now, because I've planned, like, shot for shot exactly how I wanted to do that by sitting here with my figures and planning everything with it, and it came out exactly how I want it now. And so I'm really excited about that, because it's one of the last scenes in the whole season, and that's something that's going to stick with people. It's a very impactful kind of, it's kind of like the ending moment thing, like the final scene that kind of concludes the entire conflict of the season. And so that scene really needed to be right for me. And then my favorite scene in the whole season that I've been teasing a lot of people, it's around, I think, it's in episode 10. my favorite scene in the whole season. I have planned that one shot for shot. I actually did change a couple. There's like 2 shots that I decided I liked a little bit better when I was on the shooting location, but I am so outstandingly happy with that scene. I cannot wait for people to see it because it's so emotional, it's so impactful, it's so well shot. You feel every moment of it, and I planned it. That scene was planned from the very, very, very beginning. Every shot of it was virtually planned from the beginning. Angles slightly changed, but I had like the whole thing planned out in my head the exact same way like 4 years ago. And so it's just so satisfying to see my favorite moment in the season just propelled cool into that. And it's going to be really cool when that ep comes out, because I think it's going to be really cool to talk about how that barely evolved but came into fruition into such an amazing way, and I'm really excited about that. So I'm just kind of, what I'm trying to emphasize is that you can, practice your puppeting, practice your shot design, practice your imagery and stuff like that with just your eyes, and just hold your figure. Like, just grab the figure off the shelf and just, wow, that would be a cool shot like that. That would be a cool shot like that. Rawr, rawr, rawr. Just be a little Gibson kite from 2010. Do it.
Be a baby barnacle.
Was it 2010 when you first were doing it? I think it was
2011.
11, okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
At the very end of 2011, in fact, it was December 6th, 2011 when it started.
Yeah.
And I want the premiere of season 6 to come out 2021, December 6th. So it's the 10-year anniversary.
That would be really freaking cool.
Or maybe that's when the finale will come out, but it seems more realistic that it'd be the premiere.
Yeah.
Either way, I'll be happy, but I'll probably go for the easier one that gives me more time.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say too, I need to work better on planning, storyboard stuff and planning specific shots, because when I go out to shoot, I usually have some very specific ideas about the shots that I'm gonna start with. And the first 4 or 5 shots, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want. Okay, I know what I'm gonna do here. Inevitably, there is a moment where my plan drops away and I'm sort of improvising a shot. And I'm like, ooh, that's terrible. And I stop and I delete the clip. I turn off the camera. I put everything down, stand there and go, what am I going to do? And then I have to figure it out slower after that, kind of shot by shot. And I just sort of think about it. I'm like, okay, what's going to be practical? And sometimes it's not just about picturing it, because sometimes you picture something, you're like, that's perfect. And then you're like, oh, there's no way to execute that.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes it's really about just figuring out how best can I emphasize this movement or this behavior in this specific shot. Like, what angle do I need to adjust to get this to work? How do I need to pup this to get it to work?
That's the two different shots that I think it was about 2 shots that I had to change with that scene that I've planned forever, because I was like, yeah, it doesn't really work well. This one works better, or maybe the environment was not the most ideal for a certain shot, but it all worked out pretty well. The funny thing is that because my grandfather was there with me filming all of the season, and when we first started, he was very new to this whole concept. He's so supportive. He's an amazing, amazing, amazing person. I love my grandfather to death. But he sat there, and it really was a learning experience for him, and he was getting used to how I did this, because when I first started, I would do that, where sometimes I'd stop and I'd be sitting there just while we're in the location. I'm just sitting here looking. I'm like, okay, how do I want to shoot this? And I'm thinking, and he'd kind of bug me, and he'd be like, okay, so where are we doing this and that? He'd ask me questions, or he'd wonder why I'm just sitting there not doing anything, and I had to slowly explain myself. And we did a lot of hiking, so I had to explain my thought process, and we kind of learned this. And over time, he really got used to it, and we came into a rhythm and a method, and he would pitch things, and we'd get shot ideas from each other and stuff like that. And it really became a cool process. But it's really cool to think back on how different it was when we first started, and how confused he was with some of the things that I was doing. And even I was learning it all right then, but by the end, we got into such a groove, and he knew everything. I would sit there, we'd both sit down, and we're like, okay, let's do this. We have this cool little twig we can use behind, shoot that, past that twig and use that, or we can use this as an environmental factor. Ooh, what if we did this and that? Oh, the lighting is really good right here. And we'd actually do landscaping and make things look better, because there's a lot of work that just goes into making all the foliage kind of work, because there's a lot of leaves and stuff like that.
Every time I find a cool filming area, it's funny. There are times in the year, especially in the summer, when I'm filming fairly often, and a lot of my usual locations, like the T-Rex Pack A's main nest or the dark woodland, are kind of permanently looking good, because I'm filming there every day and I'm clearing out little stuff. And then if I take a break for a couple weeks or a month and I go back to film and the weather's changed and leaves are falling everywhere, it's just like, oh my god, the housekeeping that needs to heckin' occur is immense. And at least for me, I'm cleaning the same areas in the same way a lot because it's like just keeping up with the same yard I'm used to. Going out and filming in other areas, it can be a whole other challenge.
Oh, so you're using Season 0 like a prologue. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Sorry, he's copy-pasted that several times. I keep meaning to bring it up because I think he's, like, desperate.
No, that's fine. I mean, if we miss it...
We finally read it!
Yeah, sorry. We finally read it, but thanks for being persistent. Okay, there we go. Oh. A secret YouTube channel Cameron has just started, or just uploaded a video about Minecraft.
Is it money?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, he just uploaded a Minecraft survival series.
So, he revealed to me some information that apparently none of them know DIR or Camo Sorrel.
Yeah.
But I guess some of them watch Money. And it totally makes me want to leave comments on there constantly linking to their channel like, hey, I love what you did with this episode. Here's a link to this episode of Dice Rod Revival. I really like this part with the T-Rex. And just, yeah.
I understand doing that. I kind of wish we didn't talk about this on live stream because now a lot of people know about it. But he really doesn't want them to find out about it for reasons. And so I really want to make sure we respect that about it.
We're sorry, Chadmo. We won't, break your sacred rules.
The false Chad is here.
He's finally self-identifying correctly.
Self-awareness.
I've called him that enough without context that he's just accepted it.
Think about the shots you're going to look while puppeting a figure. I took off the shelf. Exactly. What's your favorite beast of the Mesozoic Ceratopsian? Triceratops!
Pachyrhinosaurus!
Ooh, boy.
At least I didn't say Wendy Ceratops.
Only people who have seen it will understand.
I still hold hope that when we get better pictures with proper lighting that the Wendy and Medusa might kind of surprise us, but they're definitely... Yeah, I don't know. I'll just be curious to see. I think just the concept art made me more hopeful because now I'm like, well, maybe if we get the actual proper photos of them and not them like with a weird cool light on them on this shelf in the background, maybe they'll be
I'm kind of like
hesitantly hopeful.
I'm scared to be optimistic about it because like the lighting that it's in with how kind of odd the lighting is, the fact that they're still so bright with such minimal lighting really makes me worried about when they're in a better lighting situation.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah. Because I'm like if it was like a fully lit room, then I could kind of understand, but...
But, like, for instance, the Chasmosaurus, it on the shelf in the group picture, I really don't like the Chasmosaurus, but then its actual individual picture, I actually like a lot more because I can see more of the nuances of like the black and brown and how the
it sticks out a lot more on the shelf with the other ones.
They might look better out of context just on their own. I don't know. Collecta or Papaiguanodon? Collecta. Goodness gracious me. It's not even close, boy.
Oh, that's the question that you just read. I was up a little bit further and I was trying to see if we missed anything. I love Casmo and Diablo. Yeah, I was really excited about the Diablo. If I'm being honest, my first reaction when I saw the reveal of the paint was kind of like, oh. Because, I don't know, I think it was the main thing. I didn't identify it immediately, but the concept art has, like, the cool red kind of streak going across the back, and he just decided to put, like, solid color stripes, and I don't really think that I like that as much as if, like, the head color kind of did, like, back thing.
It definitely looks unfinished. It looks like the paint is wet in that picture, so I'll be curious to see how it looks when it's actually properly completed, but it
like
looks
the head.
Neat. It looks very molten to me.
Yeah, the head looks really cool. I love how bright it is.
I don't think it's going to be on my list. I think this picture kind of confirmed that it's not, but not because it's bad, just because it's not quite as...
Because it's not a genius you're super excited about, and so the colors would have to save it for that.
It's hard for me to be excited about Diablo because it doesn't do much for me. I don't know. I haven't sent anything to you on Discord. Could I possibly say... Sure, you can send me something. I'm a heckin' Discord
What are you talking about? No, you can't, you peasant. He is the Lord Gibbon.
Yes. Do not bother me with your mortal quarrels.
You silly lad. I really like the Centrosaurus, and I'm hyped to see the Pentaceratops. New Diablo image, can I post it here? Yeah, go for it.
Sure. Yeah, the Penta, I'm curious about. I'm not a big fan of the genus. Not that I have anything against it, it just doesn't excite me. But,
Prehistoric Dinosaurs being a good boy is asking permission to post the link.
Yes.
Good boy.
But yeah, the way they're executing the Pentaceratops looks pretty interesting.
GJB's exit comment is just great.
May the moisture be with you, yes.
Bye-bye. Read this, or I'll unsubscribe. I read it.
But I want your guys' opinion on my issue. I'll paste my comment down here. Okay, Delta Dromius.
I always kind of have. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make fun of you. I just always laugh when people come to me and they'll say something like this, where they prepare for the thing they want to say, or they'll say hey, can I ask you a question? You just did. You just asked me a question by asking, can you ask a question? I just think I would people don't have to I get why you do it. You're trying to be safe and you're trying to be nice and respectful, but you can't just go to the point.
I think I saw him already type something up there that looked like he might have been asking about something, and he tagged both of us, so I think he just didn't have room. But
that's fine. I'm just saying.
What really annoys me is the verbatim phrase, "Can I ask you something?"
Yeah, that's where I'm more talking.
Really starts to get on my.
Like I said, I'm not trying to make fun of Delta here or anything. I just kind of chuckle whenever I see stuff like that. Guys, hear me out. I had the idea that Retrosauria could be almost like a bunch of music videos with emphasis on creating an atmosphere using practical effects. Would a lack of continuity be a turnoff? No, if that's what the series is based on. It could be...
If it's like an anthology vignette, that sounds awesome. I just want to say his description sounds really awesome.
It really does.
It excites me greatly.
And that's another original way you can go about doing one of these series, is not have a continuity throughout the episodes, but instead do something more like When Dinosaurs Roamed America, or even Walking with Dinosaurs. That works. Walking with Dinosaurs, each episode is a completely different set of things, but it does have a continuity in terms of it's kind of telling a general story of the dinosaurs. But you can have that general idea that kind of connects all of the concepts, but they are each individual stories in each episode. And I think that'd be cool. It's kind of like a short film montage, or an anthology series is what they call them.
Yeah, I've actually, obviously... My main plan for the DI canon after Season 6 is to forget about it and never do anything with it again. But if I do anything DI related after Season 6, which I probably won't, but I have a list of plans of things I could do, and one of my things would be a seasonless, sort of indefinite anthology series of vignettes that slowly build up to tell some sort of story, but are ultimately sort of these isolated incidents, I guess.
A canon anthology series.
Yeah.
My profile picture is a picture of one of the Season 0 characters. I can barely tell what it is. It looks like a yellow Shrek that's been swatted against a glass window.
Wow.
I don't know. It's so small that it just looks like a yellow blob to me. I wish I could see it better. What is it? Can you tell me what it is? I really can't see it. Can you tell what it is? It almost looks like a bug to me.
It looks like a custom... Is this Ferocious Fragilis?
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a golden painted red tooth to me, the PNSO Baby Rex. Its head is facing left.
I see it now. I see it. There's something orange behind it that I was connecting with its body.
Yeah.
I
think that's what I'm seeing.
That is. I totally see it now. It's got green eyes.
Yep.
Cool.
I see the stream because I sent the trigger to image and he laughed. Okay, I'll check my messages. I'm looking at my Tyrannorex Mesozoic. I am your king. It's okay, but no, it's not my pride. Oh my god. Okay, thank you for the quality meme.
I love how Red Tooth just has the big.
Yeah, I just noticed he's ripped.
He's ripped as hell.
And it's his head on the Safari One's body.
Yep.
Oh my god. Yes. Okay. That's wonderful.
I think it's funny how many people think that Red Tooth's gonna grow up into the feathered Rex.
I see why they think.
I never even thought about it until people pointed it out, but I've tried telling people that that's not going to happen. But
you know what? If he does grow up, this is kind of a small figure, so it might be like a sub-adult figure. But what would work even better if you need like an older figure for it that doesn't need to be painted or anything is the Favorite Co. T-Rex that came out in the same series as Titus. I actually think it's a better looking T-Rex. It doesn't have feathers though, but it is red. It's red, and it might be kind of cool.
Well, I'm not really limited to the color anymore, because like I could repaint anything. But that's a good suggestion. I have to look at that. I don't remember what that one looks like.
I think it's better than Titus's figure. I just got Titus's because it's more consistent with my lore that males are typically green. So.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Males are green to yellow sometimes, and then females are red to brown.
I can still hear you. I'm just checking to make sure that my monitor isn't spooting sound.
Camosaurus says, Red Tooth
gone die.
Red Tooth gone die.
No. There's no way for me to add on to the conversation about like Red Tooth growing up without just like potentially hinting at a certain inevitability just either way. I'm just not gonna do it.
Ferocious Regila says, okay, he says that's just the new one that they released and not a repaint that's custom actually.
Oh, I forgot that they released the kind of like Nada, like how it was released in like the new repaint to coincide with Essien. Yeah. I think they did that with the new tan repaint.
They did a Wilson one.
That makes sense. That makes sense. It looks really yellow in your profile picture. I didn't think it was that yellow, but it has black eyes. I guess I can kind of see that. It looks green to me, but
it does kind of look green.
Might just be the lighting. Red Tooth could die. It is I.
It is I. Well, if you guys have any like last things you want to discuss, let's start wrapping it up now because I do have to.
If you have any thoughts, if you have any thoughts or questions or constructive criticisms or theories or hypotheses about Mesozoic Isle
or Dinosaur Island,
Dinosaur Island,
Dinosaur Island,
Dinosaur Island,
it's Dinosaur Island, man.
Then heckin' comment.
Yes, do. Because in 18 minutes, I have to be at a physical therapy appointment, so...
One thing I was thinking about while I was peeing earlier was... These are the types of things that occur to me when I'm urinating. I was thinking about... We were talking about putting personality into puppeting and stuff. I'll just say this real quick, because people are probably about to comment about stuff. But anyhow, I was thinking about one thing. I wish I had been a little more conscious about it. It's a little more subtle than I would have liked it to be. It could have been a little more noticeable, I think. But I did try a little bit to get some character going with the Styracosaurus herd. And it's sort of this character that like is more noticeable in context when they're together, because you can see like Spike is always at the front of the herd, and then Uno is always towards the back. He's kind of lumbering.
Oh, I never
Spike
noticed the order.
Strack is in the middle. They're always like fairly consistently laid out as they're moving through the forest. But anyway.
That's actually cool.
Red Tooth will grow up and lift Bone Crusher as a 2-pound weight for him.
I'd love to prehistoric dinosaur. If I ever find some time, I'll try to reach out to you. But I think I really should be editing Mesozoic Isle tonight, and I also have to find replacement headset for this. So I have some stuff I have to get done. I'm gonna get back like in an hour after physical therapy, so I don't think I'm gonna be able to right after this. Red Tooth will grow up and lift Bone Crusher as a 2-pound weight for him. Not accurate, but okay.
Camo is the best. Barnacle Goose is second best. Okay.
Yeah, once, hopefully, people that are really interested in Mesozoic Isle's lore, once the website comes out with episode 3, once that's launched, there's some information on the Tyrannosaurus page that will give you some insight to how the different species that are on the island change and grow and evolve. And there will be something on there that is going to strongly conflict why people think that Red Tooth would grow up into the Feathered Rex. Even if he does grow up, why he definitely will not grow into the Feathered Rex.
He's gonna grow fur instead.
Yes, they grow fur. If you want a little sneak peek, red-toothed species of Fortirius, they don't necessarily keep their feathers in adulthood. That was a rendition of Tyrannosaurus where we believed that the young babies had small patches of feathers, but as they aged, they lost them. So even if Redtooth did grow up, which I'm still not confirming anything, if he did grow up, hypothetically, he would not be the feathered Rex because the feathered Rex has feathers on it, and his species does not have feathers.
Delta Dromius, I see your comment and I hear your concerns, but I think you should go for it because I love your idea, and I think even if it's more based in atmosphere than story, it'll still be heckin' cool. So
there's different ways of telling stories and entertainment. So I don't think there's
story. My logic is it doesn't matter what your story idea is or how complicated or deep. If it's well executed, that's what matters most.
I agree. Absolutely.
And your idea is really cool. So.
Camosaurus is the best. Barnacle Goose is the second best. Oh, you have your priorities all whack.
He didn't say Barnacle said the Barnacle Goose.
He did say that.
Oh my god, I've done that too, Gibson. The Styracosaurs have an order to their herd when they're traveling. Yes! He's gonna become a werewolf. Okay. That's a theory.
Gibson sent another image. Redtooth is going up to be the Collector Roaring Rex or the Carnegie 1998 Rex. Well, I just earlier in the stream just said why I don't want to use the 1998 Rex. But that's a good theory because it does have a similar color.
Has Tyrannorex sent you this image of it's like a Mario Photoshop thing with Rose and Jade?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I think I saw that one. It's fantastic. He loves
oof.
Jade.
Camo said oof.
And on your Collector Roaring Rex one...
Hey.
Whoa, what?
Are you ready to go?
Yes, I'm gonna get ready. And there's the same complication with this one. Just saying.
It has
I'm not confirming anything, or I'm not denying anything, because, yet again, I have not said anything on whether or not Redtooth lives or dies. But I'm just saying that there might be a little something on this one that might conflict with that. Although, I will admit, I don't think it's unreasonable to say that there could be a genetic mutation in a certain individual that doesn't necessarily lose all their feathers in that species that could grow up and retain them. Because the whole point of the repair species is really to have genetic diversity and different traits that could then be selected in or out of the gene pool based on evolutionary pressure on the island. So they're just they're intentionally making them different, and there's all these different colors and stuff. They don't look consistent because they're literally shoving these things in there to try to spice up the gene pool and then let nature do its work and fit everything in the puzzle pieces. So they're just kind of giving it food for thought, just throwing ideas out there basically into the environment, and that's how that's working. So yeah, I definitely think that something like that could work, but yet again, same issue. And you just assumed my gender. Just joking. I am male. Ouch. I almost got psyched right there. Redtooth will grow 3 heads.
And go... I love that all my outro... You know all those moments in that video where I'm making that babbling noise and spinning my head? That's the end of each of the raw clip videos. That was
really?
My outro back then. Okay, this vlog is signing out.
Oh my god.
Like,
you should pitch that up and then just make a photoshopped 3-headed gibbon and just use that as a King Ghidorah.
Yes.
Because that's what he's referring to with the beep 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 beep.
Okay.
Are Barnacles and the Barnacle Goose the same? No, they're not the same thing. There are different morphs of the gibbon. Okay, so it's 5:04 for me. My appointment's at 5:15, so I gotta go. But BDDDD. Is that how it's supposed to be? I don't know. But either way, thank you, Gibson, for joining in and doing a new interesting live stream we haven't done in a while, which is a pain in the butt to get started. And thank you everybody who joined in and gave us a bunch of stuff to talk about. This actually went really well, so yeah. You look like you're trying to say something, and okay.
Check out Mind Dive.
Yeah, there you go. There's a plug. Check out Mind Dive and Kiki Quest.
Check out my film Isolation. Check out his thing, Meat Eating Triceratops. boys.
Yeah, do those things. They're underappreciated.
Toady
Anyways,
is coming in January.
Toady. Oh
I
my
just
God.
made that up, but now I have to stay true to it.
Just that always happens to you, isn't it? And you're like, spitballing. Oh no, that's a reality now. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.